make the motion, Tim.
Got a motion from Tim. Need a second?
I'll second.
Or Shalina.
Got it from Shalina. Got a motion, and a second. Those in favor of adopting agenda, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Just a reminder of our vision that we will empower all students to positively contribute to their community and their world. The mission of St. James R1 Schools is to empower students through caring relationships, academic excellence, and community partnerships. With that in mind, we will continue with our meeting. Actually, I will just, unless someone objects, I'm going to dispense with Pledge of Allegiance.
Hold on. I worked real hard to create this for you guys.
Oh, we have a flag. If you'd like to recite the Pledge of Allegiance for us, I would appreciate it.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
America.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Nation,
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
for all.
Impressive, Merlin.
I think that's the first time Webster smiled all week, I bet.
Hey, we planned that out earlier today, didn't we?
We did. Not too far from it either.
Glad to know you guys worked hard today. Good job. Good work.
Thanks.
All right. Well, I'm sorry I messed you up there. Okay. Well, we will go on to good things. One of the items that's in your documents list there is a certificate for Copeland bus service. And exemplary school bus maintenance program was evidenced by compliance with at least 90% for 1 year, passage of Missouri school bus regulation safety standards. This was for the spring 2020 inspection. They always do a spring inspection. Well, he had no failing buses. I think he had one or two minor discrepancies, which very typically occur. So
This was the first year since I've been here that they had all passing buses, which is a good thing. They've made some great improvements this last year.
So that's good. Anyone else have good things they'd like to share?
I would like to just commend several people here at school, but especially Mr. West. He did a great job honoring Bruce Courtney when Bruce was honored, and the softball field was named after him. And Phil was asked by one of the sports club members to say some nice things about what Bruce has done over the years, and he stepped up, did an outstanding job, and is a great representative of our school district.
I saw that streamed. It was a really nice presentation. I'd like to say I'm really happy that we're using the new little gym. So I know teams are practicing in there. We actually got a floor that we can use, and we're just waiting on some pads now for completing it, I think.
Yes, the company, RC company, they were ready to go, but then I guess all their workers got quarantined. So waiting for them to get back out of quarantine, out of the queue, and we'll have pads.
So. Anyone else? Okay, we will carry on. Did you receive any comments from patrons emailed in, Dr. Johnson, Shannon, anyone? Okay.
No comments.
And we have presentations lined up. I did not see anyone from Branco on the participant list yet. Maybe there is. If you're out there, speak up.
Eric is texting me right now saying I was texting Brent. He is waiting for Brent to allow him on. So Brent, did you hear that?
All right. I I see Eric in here now, so we have an update schedule from Branco. And Eric, if you can hear me, looks like your mic is on. If you'd like to give us an update on where we stand.
Well, I feel like we're looking pretty good as far as being able to turn some of the classrooms over at the end of the month. Myself and Wes and Merlin walked through there today, and I think with the exception of the one classroom on the far end upstairs, I think we'll be able to turn those over. I know from our walkthrough today, Wes is going to have some stuff to do as well as the IT department before they can fully utilize those rooms. But I think from a construction perspective, we'll be ready to turn those over to the school by the end of this month. They're laying tile up there now, all the ceiling tiles in. We do have a delay with the casework providers, which is Proc, which is right there across the street. I don't know exactly. They've got some delays. I think they've had some issues with some COVID and some letting people change some positions. I don't know exactly what's going on with them, but they are working on getting the casework constructed and delivered. There could be a slight delay with that, but I don't think that the casework has to be in for them to utilize the classrooms. And like I said, as soon as they get it fabbed, they're going to come install it. There was somebody that left the company or something and didn't transfer any of the information, and they had to recome do all their measurements, and kind of a big dilemma with them, but it's being handled and they're getting it taken care of now. Besides that, I think everything's looking pretty good. Everything's coming together fairly well. They've got a lot of the storefronts in, a lot of the glass is going in, making good progress with that. They should have the building all enclosed here shortly. They're working on finishing pouring the remainder of the concrete to be able to install the storefront on the main entrance side. And I still think we're looking pretty good for being on track to having almost everything wrapped up by the end of the year. There may be a few small outstanding items. The auditorium is actually coming along fairly well too. They should be pouring all the riser pads for the seating to go on. They're planning on doing it this next week, but I don't know if they'll get it done. It might be the following week by the time, since we have the short week next week with Thanksgiving and whatnot. Everything in there is looking pretty well. Anybody who wants to can come take a tour anytime you guys would like. I think you guys would be impressed with the progress and how things are coming along.
Okay.
Any questions for Eric?
Sounds great, Eric. I appreciate it. I did walk through there real quick, did the whirlwind tour with Dr. Johnson, I believe yesterday. So yeah, it's looking very impressive. Nice to see some of the countertops and the science lab countertop and things like that all in place.
Yeah, they're all in place, and they started laying flooring either late yesterday or today, and it's going to go down really quickly, just like it did at early childhood. They should have it done, I would say, by the end of the week next week for sure. They had a couple of the bathrooms upstairs were done, and they had one of the classrooms done, and they were starting on another one. They'll do all the classrooms and work down the hallway. It doesn't take long to get that laid down. The plumbing fixtures should be going in up there. Like I said, there will be, some IT stuff and some things that Wes has to do from a maintenance perspective. They'll have to wax all the floors and all that stuff. But I mean, from a construction perspective, we should be able to turn those rooms over, by the end of the month or, within a couple of days of that for sure.
Okay.
So with that being said, thinking that once we come back from Christmas break, everything will be wrapped up. We'll be able to start utilizing the full building.
Should be, for the most part. We should have almost everything done in there. I think there might be some issues in the auditorium. Like for the most part, everything will be done. I think that the seating, from what I understand, that they won't even come measure the seating till the pans are poured. Wes might be able to give you a little more information on that, but because that's kind of directly through you guys. But I don't know what the deal is. I know that Wes and Merlin have talked to them about that, and I mean, for the most part, everything should be ready to go by the end of the year. We might be working on a few sidewalks or something, some landscaping outside. But as far as the building goes, I think we should be looking pretty good for the end of the year.
Wes, would you like to elaborate a little bit on the seating and some of the soft costs that I think could be a misunderstanding with us being able to utilize the building like I think some people might think?
Yeah, I'll start with the things that, the waxing and moving furniture in. And I mean, those things take a little bit of time, not a whole lot. The IT guys, and talking with Josh Carroll today, well, I guess you guys know that he had an employee who left, right? And he's trying to replace that person right now. Well, that person was your networking person, which, we were relying on to get all the building wired up and going. So that's a hiccup in the road for sure for them. Also, along with where the IT closet had to go, it's actually over there in the sound booth closet with the auditorium, which isn't completed right now and isn't acclimated. There's no HVAC in there yet. So I don't want to speak for Josh Carroll, but I know there's going to be some issues with having internet even upstairs in the current condition. Even if Brandco does get done by the end of the month, I don't want to speak for him, but I could tell the look on Josh's face today. He was kind of feeling the stress, like, I don't even know how I'm going to make this work, because we really need the auditorium sound booth done as well. And that's not done. And I don't know if Eric, if you can give us a date on that, but even if, let's say that's ready first couple weeks of December, there's a lot of IT work. Yes, the building's wired, but none of the ends of the wires are terminated, and there's not even the fiber cable to the server room yet. So there's hiccups with just saying, yes, building's ready, move in. Well, you can move in, and that's fine, but you're not going to have internet. So then that would be up to Joe to have high school without internet upstairs. And I see you're laughing, Joe, but I mean, it's really, it'll put a lot of pressure on the IT guys and, of course, my staff to try to wax that and get all the furniture moved in a timely fashion. So Josh and I have talked, and we're trying to get those timelines for our departments of what our guess is. But so I don't even want to really say right now. I think my staff could probably be done with our stuff in a couple of weeks. I would say a couple of weeks would give me plenty of time to get everything waxed and moved. But I don't think that's going to be the problem here. I've told Josh that my maintenance department would help him do anything with the tech side that he needs us to, as far as terminating wires and all that, just so he could help create the timeline of how long that's actually going to take to get the building, internet ready. And he'll be working on that and getting with Dr. Johnson. And so we'll have a better idea. So that's that part of it. The auditorium seating, as was mentioned, the Carroll seating, they won't even order the seats until they can field verify the auditorium that the floor is all ready, so they can make sure their clearances are all going to work. So, and then they said there's Dr. Johnson, he say 3 months or 4 months of lead time on the seats after we order the seats. So even if we could order them after next week when all the concrete's done, you're still talking March before the seats will be installed.
Which is fine. I mean, I don't foresee us using the seats for quite some time anyway, as it is. I'm more worried about the internet and the wiring. Is that, with the abrupt departure of someone, is that something we could look at outsourcing, or at least getting a quote to see what it costs, like from a CIS or a company like that that works with local businesses in the area?
Yeah, that's what we've already talked with Josh, that we're going to have to do something like that. So he's down to really himself, and he's got Brent, who's going to college, part-time guy, does a great job, but it's 1.5 FTE right now. But we might be able to take care of that part of that later on in this board meeting.
And we already did hire out some of the actual pulling the wires, because originally 2.5 years ago, we were, when we were 5 or 6 in the IT department. We're like, oh yeah, we'll pull all the wires, we'll do all ourselves, and whatever. Well, now we're down so low, so we already did hire out part of the IT work that we weren't originally planning on doing. So we might have to do some more. Yes.
And there's a big old lot of wires up there, and it's gonna take some time. And if there's anything we can do to help you guys, let us know.
Shalina, did you have any more questions about the
I don't.
performing arts?
No, thank you for answering that, Wes. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much for tuning in, Eric, and you're welcome to sit around for the rest of the meeting if you want, but you're free to leave.
No problem. I said, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and ask. And we appreciate you guys, and we're just glad to be working with you guys. And hopefully we can get this done soon and give you guys your school back.
Okay, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, guys.
We will move along to the next item, and that's activities report. And Greg Harlan has some words to review from our fall seasons and the possibility of something happening for our winter seasons.
Hopefully everybody can hear me. I appreciate the chance to come talk to you just real briefly. Dr. Johnson asked me to give a brief recap of the fall season. Considering everything coming in from last season and then having to go through some obstacles during the summer, I felt like our coaches really did a good job this past summer. And coming into the fall season, we really asked a lot of the coaches coming into the season. They did a lot of extra legwork to prepare for the season as far as paperwork and things they had to do for practices and just the preparation work of everything. And I felt like we did a good job with that. The one thing that really stuck out my mind is that we were probably one of the few schools in the area that got through the entire fall season where our school district was not the reason that a game was canceled. We did not have to, now that doesn't mean we didn't have some hiccups along the way. We did end up with some players were quarantined and some coaches were quarantined and different things like that. But I really felt like the district as a whole did an outstanding job in coming together to help each other through the situations that we faced. And that was a testament to lots of people, including our custodial staff and Wes did a fantastic job in helping everything. They did a good job of keeping things clean. I really think that was one reason we was able to avoid some of the issues that a lot of other schools faced. And I really think that when our other coaches, off-season coaches, they did a nice job. We had some coaches become quarantined. And during that time period, we had some other coaches. I'm just going to mention their names real quick. Shannon Snicker came on when Coach Purvis got quarantined to softball. He came on and helped coach the softball team with Hannah Heaton. Jim Engelbrecht came on with Kristen Lortz as well and helped step in when the middle school basketball coaches were quarantined for a couple of weeks. They stepped in and helped. Sydney Garr came on whenever the volleyball coaches were quarantined. She came on and filled in for a number of days. I think she was there for about 10 days. And so when I think about that, it was a very pleasant surprise to have so many people in our district who made a difference in the kids' lives after going through the spring season last year and seeing how the kids were affected by that and the community was affected by that. Seeing everybody come together and make that happen was an outstanding thing. So in that regards, I mean, we had some hiccups. I felt like some of the things we did to reduce the crowd sizes for some of our games made a difference. I think moving forward into the winter season, I think we learned some things from the fall season that we can apply to the winter season. So I think the board members, I believe, have seen our fall sports guidelines and facility guidelines, and spectator guidelines. And I've given Dr. Johnson a copy of our spectator guidelines that we are going to implement for the winter. And the one thing is, we all know that, there's a little bit of a blip here, an increase in some local cases and across the state of a COVID. So in an effort to try and get as much of the basketball and wrestling seasons in as we can, I feel the thing to do moving forward is to have a little bit more of a stricter spectator guideline. And so I'm not sure if you have a copy of that on your board documents or not, but it was a health recommendation from the Phelps and Marys County Health Department. Their recommendation is on our tier levels for the COVID tier levels that we have for our facility guidelines and our spectator guidelines. They've recommended that we move from tier 2 to tier 3. In conversation with Dr. Johnson, we feel that's probably the best scenario for us to be able to get our kids and our teams through as much of the season as possible. So what that means is basically that will have us seeing the essential personnel at the games. That's, the gatekeepers, game clock people, the teams, the players, the coaches. And then it'll also mean that each team will be given a number of player vouchers. We'll have the concession stands open, and we'll limit access for right now to the community. Anyone who would come from the community would have to do so with the player vouchers. And that's coming from a recommendation of the health department. We feel like that's the best chance for us to be able to move forward. We're not the only ones that got that recommendation. The other schools throughout Phelps County got the same recommendation. And I feel like we kind of led the way a little bit in our conference in the fall. The things that we were doing in the fall are some of the other schools in the conference that did not have similar guidelines in place have now moved in the direction that we were already at. And so when we go to other schools, you're going to see a more strict spectator guidelines. You're going to see masks being implemented at the schools, the things that we've been trying to do. The other schools have seen how we've been able to get through the seasons without having to postpone anything. Now, with that said, moving into the winter here, unfortunately, we've had some quarantine situations occur at the middle school, and I've had to cancel 2 events for the middle school that were scheduled to start next week. And hopefully that'll be the only ones we have to cancel because of ourselves. But moving forward, I think that's the best situation to do. And that's how we're going to start. The one thing about, even though we're going to have limited capacity, we did have the Pixelot camera system installed. That'll be up and running hopefully by the end of next week and be ready before any contests are held. The camera system was installed. It's an online streaming system. And basically anybody that wants to watch a game can get online, and I'll be getting more information out about that. And essentially what they can do is get online, pay basically a game admittance fee online to watch the game. I believe right now, I think it's around $8 or $10 to watch the game. So if you're a family of 4 and you were going to come watch a basketball game or a football game at St. James, it would cost you $10 to get in the game, $3 for the adults and $2 each for the kids. So it's $10. So it's very comparable to coming to a game with a family of 4. You can purchase a season pass. I believe the season passes are going to be $75 for the basketball season or a wrestling season. And so the good thing is every school in our conference has also purchased the Pixelot camera system. And so any of our road games or any other school that we would go to, whether it be Rolla, School of the Osage, Waynesville, any other school we'd go to that would have this same camera system, people from St. James community would have the access to be able to watch our games at the other school districts because they have the same camera setup system. So it's
Greg, what's the name of that?
It's called Pixelot.
Okay.
Pixelot.
Okay.
And now I'll get information out on that. And it is going to be, I believe it's going to be through the website of NFHS, similar to what Misha uses. And I'll be getting more information out about that. I know Josh Carroll was very instrumental in getting this set up. I know he's a little short-handed, but when the company came to set this up, I'm going to give him a little bit of a shout out here. When the company came to set up the system, he said it was the most prepared a school. The installer said it was the most prepared he'd ever been at in a school when he showed up to put in a system. And so I know Josh did a lot of legwork at the beginning to make the installation go as smooth as possible. And it normally takes 2 days to get it, both cameras installed. We had a camera put in the high school gym and a camera put at the football field. And it took them 1 day because Josh had done so much legwork to be ready for them. And they were very appreciative of that. But that's kind of how we're moving forward right there.
Questions for Greg?
Sounds great, Greg.
I had
Anyone
one
have any
question,
questions for?
Sorry, Carl. Just what we had talked about at our last meeting, the mask mandate, is that still, everything's still the same in our school, like that you're wearing it all the way in and everybody has to wear it while they're seated? Everything stayed the same with all of that?
It was my understanding that the way it was explained to me by Mr. Webster and Dr. Johnson was that it was at the meeting, the way it ended at the meeting was they'd have to wear a mask into the building. I'm going to have the distance seating. We're going to be blocking off every other row in the building. Unless I misheard you here, have to wear your mask into the building. Once you get seated, I've ordered some basically green directional dots basically, and some red directional dots, and says, basically says this seat available, this seat is unavailable. And so our job is going to be to make sure everybody understands where they need to sit. And once they get seated, I thought that they would be able to take their mask off that once they'd gotten seated, because everything would be distance seating.
That's what we agreed to. You're correct, Greg.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood you right.
Okay.
And so if they sit where the dots are with the reduced seating, they should be easily 6 feet apart, over 6 feet apart.
So we're saying no mask at all inside the building.
No, we're saying when they have to enter the building with a mask on,
Right.
they'll pay at the gate. Anytime they're up moving, they have to have a mask on. Once they're seated in the place where they're going to sit for the game, they can remove their mask.
Okay.
If they need to get up and go to the restroom, they want to go to the concession stand, something like that, they need to have a mask on. Once they return to their seat and they're seated and their distance. Now, if you're sitting there with your husband and there's 2 people sitting next to each other from the same family, we don't expect you to have your mask on with your husband sitting there because you're from the same family. And that's kind of how the rule has typically been enforced, anywhere you would typically go or whatever. So that's where we're trying to get people to sit in their family pods, so to speak. And hopefully that we'll be able to get that accomplished.
And Greg, with the restrictions of going to level 3, we're looking at like a basketball game in the 100, maybe about 100 people. Is that right?
Be a little bit more than that, probably about 160. Our gym holds, if you not counting the players, obviously, and the coaches, but the gym holds basically 1,000 people. So we're going to be running about 18% capacity. That number does not include our gatekeepers, our game table workers, things like that. I've left a little bit of a buffer in there, but our actual ticket pass out will probably be 165. And then I've allowed, we got to leave enough room in there for the people who are working the game. And that'll bring us up to the capacity that we're expecting to be at.
And we feel that is a manageable number that we have people that do not cooperate with the mask rules, and anyone who doesn't, we could watch that and ask them to leave at that time.
Yeah. And the thing is, if it's I hope to have the gym set up in such a way that it's going to be pretty self-explanatory of where there's going to be set. I plan on having, like I said, the signage on the bleachers as soon as I get the signage in, the signage on the bleachers, and the rows will be blocked off. It's just a matter of getting the legwork done ahead of time, and hopefully we can get the signage here before the first home basketball game or home wrestling meet.
Greg, I had one more question. Is this also the Pixel thing? Is that for middle school games as well, or is that only high school games?
That's a good question. Right now, they've had such a high demand. They're only allowing 2 cameras per school. And so we had actually ordered this, believe it or not. We had ordered this, oh my gosh, back in June, and they were just now able to get our camera systems installed. We were trying to get it installed prior to football season. And so that's why we had the camera put down the football field. So this spring, hopefully we won't be in the same situation, but we could also be broadcasting our track meets, girls soccer, other events. Now, the one good thing about it, the system is you can add on to it as time goes on. And so if we wanted to add another camera over at the middle school, we could certainly do that. If we wanted to add a camera into the new theater to broadcast events there, we could do that. If we want to add a camera to the baseball, softball complex, possibly do that, because you have to have an internet capability to be able to do it. So there is room for expansion, but we went with, they had a special rate going and they had a large discount. And so we felt like with everybody else in the conference joining the system, we felt like it was something we could get into at a reasonable cost.
Hey, Greg, I just did some quick research on my cell phone. It says something about being able to sell ads or sponsorships in order to be able to help pay for this. Is that something that you have explored?
I haven't gotten that far into it yet. They said there was some capability on it. I've seen some video examples of it.
Okay.
It's a little bit limited. It's not what you would think, I guess. It's just more of like maybe having an icon on the video as the game's going on. But there is a little bit of a possibility there.
I was just thinking if that's a way we could pay for another camera, because it looks like a pretty cool thing to keep going even after the pandemic's over. You know, this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Continue with.
It is it's a hands-free automated camera system. It follows the ball, whatever the sport is, it follows the ball, zooms in and out, all on its own. It's got the software technology to be able to do that. So it's pretty interesting.
Cool. I nominate Justin Seibert as the play-by-play guy. So.
There was no comment on that one. He didn't say anything.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay. We appreciate it, Greg.
Thank you.
We will move along to the next presentation. That is a career and technical education evaluation plan.
So Phil was going to present this. Joe, do you have any comments on that? He said there was no changes from last year. It's just a update of information.
I don't have any comments.
Okay, so there's really not a presentation to give other than the information that you have there in front of you.
I think in the past, actually, it has been presented later on in like first part of the year, because we start talking about what we want to do for next school year. So I was thinking that's when you guys brought that to us. You brought some recommendations to the board of what the business teachers particularly wanted to do and technology. So.
Yes, when that time comes, this is just something that's same time every year, and there's really no updates to share.
Okay. Be interested to hear something though in the spring. We start thinking about the auditorium and some of the things that we can offer there. Yeah, the technology involved in productions and things like that. Okay, And we'll move along to the last presentation. And Tim Webster, if you've got enough of a voice, talk about special education.
I will try. So back in 2004, with the Disabilities Education Improvement Act, this is something that yearly we have to make, just share with the public. The purpose is just to make the public aware of the performance that the state in general is providing for special education students. So the numbers here, you will see they are for the entire state of Missouri. This is not specific to just St. James schools. This is something that when they take all the special ed students in the state, they categorize them into the same group. I doubt you guys remember what it looked like last year, but there were a lot more met standards on there. This year, you'll see that there's a lot of unmet standards. That's pretty self-explanatory to the fact of we did not finish the school year last year. If you look at the top half, especially with the early childhood, that's something typically you start visiting with those kids near the end of the school year. So when they come into early childhood, you can look at those things, and obviously they weren't able to meet with all of them, especially like the 3-year-olds. Moving throughout there, you do see there's a lot of unmet. You can see also the target goals are pretty steep. The percentage that the state got to still is not bad, with the fact that we closed in March and didn't have the rest of the year to get where we were going. But I just wanted to share this with you guys, make you aware of it. If there's anything that you want to talk specifically about, I will do my best to explain it to you.
My only question, Tim, is you truly feel that a reason that a majority of them weren't met was because the school basically shut down in March? Like if you look at statistically speaking in years past,
I do. And keep in mind, John, this is not specific just to St. James. This is the entire state category.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
One of the things, I'll be honest, before this year, I'd never looked at this. So I went into the last 3 years and looked at it. Within the last 3 years, within each category, there was 1 or 2 that were unchecked. But the gaping holes here, I do truly believe it's just the fact we didn't finish the year and the state didn't have a chance to close all the information out.
That's all I was concerned with. There was a lot of unmets.
It really is. Yeah. Because this was a homework project for myself, because when I logged in there and first looked at it, I went, oh boy, how am I going to explain this? And then I went back a couple years and I started looking at it, and then talked to a couple other schools. And I really do feel confident enough to tell you guys that is the reason that they're not met.
Okay. Thank you very much. Hopefully we can get to finish out a school year this time, and next year will look better. All right, we will move along to action items. The first item I have is a consent agenda. I'd like a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion, Tim.
Motion from
I'll
Tim.
second.
Who is the second?
Shalina.
Shalina. Okay. I have a motion and a second. Those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We have one discussion topic, and that concerns a calendar for next year. In the past, we've had a committee, assigned a committee, and I think we're talking about looking at administration board putting together a calendar with a couple of options to present, and then just survey the community and parents to see what we're coming up with. Dr. Johnson, you got more words on that?
You know, that was the conversation that came out of last year's, after the committee work, board member Larry Reinhardt, I think he very adamantly suggested that we move away from the committee format and just openly communicate with people and through the survey, and have discussions with our teachers and staff, and get a good feel of what people are thinking, and kind of go back to the way that I think we used to do it here at St. James, is send out some options and and then go with the one that makes the most sense.
I think the committee helped us. I don't really see the need now anymore, at least for another few years, but it did show a lot of people all the restrictions that we had and what we had to get in place. So a lot of things just can't be moved around. They're pretty much locked down. Anyone have any objections to administration working with the staff to put together a schedule and just provide a couple of options to allow a survey on?
So I would like to just explain, typically we in the past, we've talked about January with the COVID and just a lot of the uncertainties. I think that we could possibly wait till February or maybe even March, just to see how things go with if COVID, maybe there'll be projections that it'll be here till all the way to August and September and October next year. We don't know. So I think it might be okay to even wait a little bit longer before we officially approve the 21-22 academic calendar.
I mean, legally, I think we only have to have it approved before the end of the school year, official school year, which is 30th of June. Obviously, I think we need to give people a little more heads up on that, but January might be a lot earlier than needed. Okay. And did you want to discuss the possibilities now of after Thanksgiving, between now and end of year? We talked about that a little bit.
On the possible calendar modifications?
Calendar and attendance, what we want to do there.
I have that in the superintendent's report to discuss.
In the superintendent's, okay, we'll wait until then.
Okay.
All right. Any comments from anyone regarding calendar? Okay. We'll move into the action topic we have for a budget revision. You look at this, at budget revision number 2. Basically, it's adding some extra expenses that we didn't expect to have with basically due to COVID. It also adds some revenues, changes some revenue streams because of COVID. So first, I'd like a motion to pass this revision for the budget.
I'll make the motion, Tim.
Well, got a motion from Tim.
John seconds.
Got a motion or a second from John. Discussion.
I have a question. Just when I had a basketball parent meeting last week, I was coming through right there by the new gym. Basically, it's the old, right, the entrance to Jim Jenkins' old science room. There, it's kind of gapping a little low right there where there's a camera up in that corner. Is that from water, or is that from, is that like protection right now just to prevent anything from leaking? I didn't know exactly what was going on right there.
I'm not sure where Jim Jenkins' room's at.
Yeah,
West.
sorry. Like right at the steps that goes down to the locker room.
Are you just talking about the ceiling tiles that are?
Yes. Yeah, they were they're like bowed down a little ways.
So that was some of the leaking from the construction. And it still is leaking a little bit there where they tied in that old roof. So that's something I've been working on with them. It looks, I'm sure the camera is kind of looking a little sideways, but yes, that is part of construction where they tied in the roof for the gym. So that was where that actual spot was the primary spot of our old gym floor problem that we had back whenever that was. So yes, it is still leaking a little bit. So
that's what it just made me a little worried with the wax being put on the new floor in the practice.
Every time it rains, no matter what time it is, I'm sweating it because we still have leaks. So that'll be not fixed whenever we get the locker rooms into completed with construction, and I can hire that second phase of the roof fix. At least that will make the roof safe, but it still will leak. So the construction will still have to help seal that up at that joint. So we've been monitoring it, but yes, it is definitely, I don't want to replace the ceiling tiles because they're just going to get ruined again. So.
Okay.
Hey, thank you, Wes.
Yep.
So one thing I had trouble a little bit there with Dr. Johnson. What's the total change then in our budget? Are we taking more of a hit? Or are we actually seeing most of this extra expense getting paid through the CARES Act?
Yeah, so if you look at the food service, we're actually coming out on top by about 60,000 from the good work of getting all that paid, all the reimbursed through the summer food service program. We're coming out on revenues 283,000 to the good, but then because now the students aren't paying, we're going to be short about 219,000. So when you put those two together, that we're about 60,000 to the good there. And then the grants, and Susan can talk a little bit more about that if you have any questions on that. That's 187,000. If you can see that, that's the new money down at the very bottom there in the middle and on the far right. So if you have any questions about the grants, and we still have numerous grants out there that we are working on that's COVID related.
Okay. Any more discussion on budget revision? Those in favor of passing on budget revision number 2, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And now I believe we're on to superintendent's report. So Dr. Johnson, the floor is yours.
So I did add something, and I know typically we try to let you know, but Jim just surprised me today with some information. So I went ahead and added this on, just good information of the city councils will be considering an ordinance approving a proposed plan dealing with Walmart. So Jim, are you able to give us a little bit of information about your progress here?
I am. Do all the board members have that copy of the plan?
It is attached, and they should be able to open that up.
Okay, well, I'm going to try and share my screen and get right to the meat of things because I think that's what you all want to know. So let's see if this works. Okay, can you all see the Exhibit 1?
Yes.
Cost benefit analysis?
Yes, it's up.
Okay, so where the cursor is pointing, the $3,702,979 is what the St. James School District will get. So that's over the next 10 years. In our proposal, had we had Walmart, or if Walmart accepts the current evaluation of their personal property and their real estate property, you're giving up $79,776. So if you look at the value of the tax abatement, the city of St. James is taking the biggest hit. And then the other taxing bodies are paying up their share. Let me get to the next page. This is what we anticipate your payments would be. You can see the effect of the real estate appreciation. In the front part of the plan are all the assumptions. I think it's 2% per year of the real estate property going up. And then conversely with that, the personal property is being depreciated. So, and if I can get to the other one, so this is an approximation of what the payments would be to get you to that $3,702,000. So what the city is proposing is that we would give Walmart a pilot and they would be taxed on $150,000 versus their normal assessment. In doing so, all the taxing bodies get to participate, where you can see in the summary, we're all going to get something that we're not used to. St. James will get 126,000 over the next 10 years. In Phelps County, 37,000, 36 for bridges. And so we feel this is the best solution that will keep us out of litigation with Walmart. After talking to the assessor, Bill Stolt, and he's in litigation with Walmart, the Supercenter, they have secured representation that works on commission. So this law firm is automatically appealing any assessed valuation on any property in the state of Missouri. So we know that at some point, you know, if we let this current lease lapse at the end of the year, this law firm will file appeals, and the odds are we, City of St. James, St. James School District, and all other taxing bodies would not see any revenue for a couple of years until that court case is settled. So, and you know, they've got to go through all the steps. They'll appeal it to the county, then appeal it to the state tax board, and then they'll take it to court. This is why we decided that we would extend the lease option and try to go, you know, try to forego that and be able to, you know, kind of a bird in the hand. Any questions, gang?
What's the likelihood or what's the timetable of this being approved or turned down?
Walmart is happy with this. They're going to save $1 million. So they're thrilled with this. And how this works is you're going to get some portion of the property tax and the pilot, which is $150,000. The school gets a piece of that. And there's a table in there that shows you how that's calculated. Walmart will gift to the school $250,000 every year. So they get the tax deduction for that, right? So the school comes out ahead to the tune of about, you know, 70,000 or 20,000 a year versus the 350,000. So we did try to solicit some help from former Walmart personnel that may be in the know. And the advice we were given is keep it as close to the exact same amount that they're paying now, which was the 350,000 a year. And, you know, otherwise you'll end up in litigation. So the one thing that allowed the payment last time to go, everything to go directly to the school was that's the way the Chapter 100 was set up, that the city could direct where those funds were sent. Unfortunately, the statutes changed in the last 20 years. So any emergency services cannot be abated. So the fire department and the ambulance district will get their full amount of whatever that assessed valuation is. And that's a good thing. So the city council was trying to come up with a plan to help maintain that funding for the school. You guys actually come out a little ahead. And so we're going to have an ordinance to accept this, and we will vote on it on December 14th. We'll do a first and a second reading. And that's why we have to get this out to the other taxing bodies for their approval and comments. So comment away.
Jim, I appreciate it.
I'll just say great job, Jim. That's an unbelievable thing you've had to deal with. And cutting it close to the wire, but very good work, and that's awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Kudos. Good job, Jim Fleming.
Well, we'll see what the city council says when they see we're giving up 600,000.
Yeah, I know. So,
Well, we appreciate you fighting for the school district and, you know, even getting a little bit extra for us. So that means a lot. So I appreciate all the hard work you're doing to help our kids.
So if any of the school board members want to go through this in more detail, please give me a call there at City Hall, and I'll be happy to go through it with you. We can do a Zoom meeting. You now have a copy. We can go through the pages and the logic behind it. But basically, the city and, you know, looking at the school, you all have gotten used to that 350,000 every year, and not having that for 2 or 3 years would pose a real hardship. So, you know, we knew we had to do something to try and maintain that.
Okay. Any more questions for Jim? Appreciate all the hard work. And like you said, come by and he'll show you more of the details of the plan. So thank you, Jim. So moving on, the Mash House possibilities. This is just a discussion right now. So far we have had, and when we talk about the Mash House, we're talking about Tiger Cubs 2 over there on the highway. And now that building is kind of vacant, it's still being used some, correct me if I'm wrong, Wes, still being used a little bit for storage for the early childhood. Is that correct?
That is correct. There's still stuff in there. Dan, I don't know, are you using it for anything else that you know of?
No, sir. Just early childhood's leftover stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So as of right now, we've had 4 different individuals come with requests. Not sure if we're able to do anything immediately. We got a lot going on still. So kind of need to wait and see how things go as far as getting the early childhood supplies and things out of the building. But that's going to be soon. I would think by the end of this school year. But Linda Webster and the school nutrition program, they are interested in potentially using that space for storage right now. And she gave us a little bit of an explanation there. The high school storeroom had to be taken for a freezer, so they have no storage place. They have to put it in the kitchens, making it smaller than already is. And then the commodities, she basically said when we get commodities, we have no storage in any building. So it makes it difficult to get that extra food at times. And when we don't have space to store it. So she gave a pretty good, compelling argument that she could definitely utilize that. And I would say that, you know, we don't have very good storage. I think Wes could attest to that district wide. That's one thing we haven't done a good job as far as planning as a district, is having enough storage for several different departments.
Everybody wants storage. Everybody.
Yeah, people are fighting over that storage under the new seating in the performing arts. Is that correct, Wes?
Like bloody fights for sure.
Yeah, bloody fights. So that's one possibility. And then also the IT department, they have asked to be considered to use that whole building, I guess, for office and storage space for them. You know, right now they're downstairs and it seems to be working fairly well, but you know, they do cram things in different places throughout the district where they can find little tiny nooks and crannies throughout. And then Cheryl Brigman, teacher at the high school, they have the Pay It Forward Club, and she was actually the first person to submit, you know, being able to use that space. So they, the Pay It Forward Club, Joe might be able to share a little more information about what they actually do. Joe, can you add to what's the Pay It Forward Club? I know they have like a clothes closet. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing they do. And that's what she's talking about for storage, because they do help with that, take care of the needs of a lot of people, organizations. They donate a lot of it, but she collects coats, she collects, I mean, and help some of the immediate needs of some of the kids in our school and district. So that's what she was looking at. And she's got a lot of it in her classroom right now, just because there's nowhere else to go right now.
Okay. So that's a possibility. And then the final one is Mr. Webster came up with an idea. He actually has a nice little proposal there. If you take a chance to look at it, it's worthwhile to look at the Tiger Forward proposal, which is more of a behavioral facility just for our students. Right now, we do send our students to the parents are able to decide between Great Circle, and then we have the Discovery School over at Rolla. And that's something that's just possibly something in the future that we could look at. Right now, I don't know if that's something we want to get into. Just getting through this school year with COVID, I don't think we want to get something like that started, but it might be something to consider for the future. Tim, do you have anything to add on that?
No, nothing specifically to add. I agree with you. Right now, when I started working on this proposal, I thought it'd be a great idea. I don't know if right now is the time. This is something that I'm passionate about, and down the road that I think St. James should try to take on. But with everything else we're taking on with COVID right now, it would take a lot of resources. It would take extra staff. I think it would be a break even when you take away what we're currently paying, but I don't know that this is something right now that we want to take on. But it is something I wanted to share with everybody because it is something down the road I would like to see happen here in St. James.
Okay, so that is possibilities. It's just conversation. I think, there's two, I think very, the first two are pretty good considerations there. So just let me know sometime where you're leaning, what you're thinking, and we'll try to figure out a plan. Okay. Just wanted you to know that, we did have we talked about a hiring freeze. However, with our tech department, we I believe Wes was talking at one point a few years ago, we had 5 or 6 employees. Josh Carroll is just hanging on right now alone, and losing the one technician is pretty tough. I don't think it's appropriate to try to have Josh do it all by himself. So that is a position that came up just recently. And then also Title I early childhood teacher position, we are opening that up as a temporary position to finish it, to get us through this year due to the unfortunate loss of one of our teachers. And so we had that open, and so we will be opening the position for hire, and which in-house personnel can be considered. So we're looking at in-house. If personnel are not available to fill the opening, we'll be required to move a current properly certificated person in-house from their current position to this early childhood opening. And in discussions with DESE, they did advise us that since we must have a currently certificated person in that early childhood position. And so if we do end up moving somebody in-house, then we could, wherever we take that person from, then we could put a sub in that position. So that is where we're at with that Title I early childhood teacher. And considerations at year's end, we'll be evaluating if we need to continue with the Title I room or consider changing to an ECSE room to properly service our student population. And as a result, the need to consider the year-end needs, the position will be advertised to simply finish this current school year. And I don't know if Dan would want to add any extra there, or if you have any questions about that. Okay.
Okay, before you continue, either Dr. Johnson or Brent Raby, John Rapp got knocked off the session. He needs back in. I think he needs to be authorized back on.
Leave him out.
I knew it was all
back.
quiet.
He just texted me, somebody let me
We
in.
vote on that.
John's out.
John's out.
Knocking on the door. Okay, he's back.
I heard everything you all said about me.
Uh-huh.
That's hurtful, wasn't it, John? That's hurtful. Okay, moving on to the possible calendar modifications. This is what Carl was talking about earlier. Unfortunately, we felt that it was necessary after we got in we really think we're going to be moving in the right direction with the mask emphasis after the governor's announcement from last week. Unfortunately, we're still dealing with getting positive tests that go all the way back to last week. And so our middle school got hit hard again yesterday, and it's just we're down so many kids, and we just feel that it would be a good chance for us to go to this hybrid also at the middle school that way the kids are split 50-50 and less exposure. They're able to spread out in the classroom. It's not ideal for learning. This is not what we want long term. However, option one is for the high school and middle school to be hybrid. Elementary stay in the seated format as long as we can hold on, with potentially, if we have to quarantine a class here, a class there due to a positive case, continue in this setup through December the 4th. We have discussed that we might consider hybrid all the way to Christmas. I don't think we want to go out and make that announcement that that's what we're looking to do. I think our goal is for hybrid to be temporary. And hopefully, if we do things right, maybe we could slow down the quarantines, and hopefully I think possibly just good fortune, maybe positives could go down. We will reassess at the beginning of the week of November 30th and December 4th that week. If things are looking good, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of that week, we will come back on December 7th at the middle school and high school, regular seated classes. Also, just so you know, the elementary has a totally different problem. Elementary's problem is different. At the high school and middle school, we have student quarantine issues, some positive tests because older kids are getting COVID. However, at the elementary, we're seeing much more of it as a teacher issue with COVID, and then not being able to find substitute teachers. So the totally different situation. We are going to send out a message to our elementary parents. Dan, Tracy, myself, we're going to send out a message either tomorrow or maybe even we're thinking about waiting until Monday or Tuesday of just, hey, if we do not have coverage of classrooms, we are preparing for the potential of going virtual AMI at the elementary. So option 2 is going that way if things get worse. Preschool all the way through 12th grade. That's not really where we want to be. Option 2 is going virtual preschool through 12th grade, starting November 30th through December 4th, and then returning if possible. Possibly also, depending on each building, different hybrid, possibly go hybrid at 9-12 or just all the way 6-12, or possibly just a middle school 6-8. And then returning to in-seat at the elementary after a period of time, after that 1 week after Thanksgiving. And then option 3 is just doing that earlier. I think that's really too late at this point, because that's when we say earlier, we're talking about next Monday. So on a positive note, we feel that we're going to have more teachers back at the elementary on Monday. Is that right, Dan? We're feeling like more teachers back on Monday?
Yeah,
So,
we're looking for Monday and Tuesday.
I mean, it's still not good. Tomorrow we're scrambling to get through at the elementary. The hybrid is actually, we feel that it is helping us as far as students being near each other and exposure. Masks are being required very strictly. And, today, knock on wood here, this is the second day in a course of 3 days that we haven't had a positive. Now, I am reminded many times that the health department might just be so overwhelmed that they can't let us know. But we didn't get any phone calls today of positives. And I would like to definitely compliment our nursing team with the beginning of the administration of the COVID antigen tests. We've been able to test several staff and students already and get immediate 15-minute rapid test results. And luckily, we've had several negatives, and we've been able to get people back if they feel okay to come back earlier. So, and these are very accurate tests, and they're highly recommended by Patrick Stites at the health department and the health department in general. They endorse these tests that we're using. So as of right now, we're going to hold strong on option number 1 and hope for the best. So any questions on possible calendar modifications? Okay. Are y'all still there? Everybody there? So quiet.
Sounds good.
Okay. Moving on. Facility update. Mr. DeLuca.
Okay, there was just a couple things I wanted to mention. Got my little notes here. A loss control specialist did our inspection. They do one every 2 years. That was done a couple weeks ago. I'm still waiting on that report. What I have to walk around, what he's looking for is anything from are my fire extinguishers up to inspected properly, to our windows blocked on classrooms where teachers are, not supposed to do that. And it's just an array of between facilities and just safety and all that. So I'll be sharing those results with the principals when I get those, if there's things that they need to address. When I'm walking around with them, it feels like it's all on facilities, but there is more stuff that he looks at. So just wanted you guys to know that was done a couple weeks ago. The little shed on the property we bought from Smallwood, the building that's fallen in over there behind the church, it should be getting tore down starting early next week. The problems I've run into, it was full. So I don't know if she got anything out of there. So there's a lot of stuff in there. So I had to talk, I'm talking with Reliable Excavating. So we had to look at it again, but he is planning to start early next week. Air quality. So with the COVID related stuff, there's been people reaching out to us along with some reports I've been reading. And if Josh Cahill was here, I'm sure him and I talked about this a few months ago, that air quality will be a topic for us to look at in the near future with COVID related stuff. So we had a company, Performance Services, they're out of St. Louis. They reached out to us and said they would do a free air quality survey, I guess they called it. So I took them around in rooms and they did parts per million checks here and there just to see what our air quality was throughout the entire district. And I have not got that report back yet. They're a company that they kind of, from what I understand, they're going to look at how they can do a project here at our school to improve our air quality. So they were also looking at my lighting, because anywhere where I haven't went to LED, they're going to probably try to use that as, hey, we can also fix your lights, and then it will help offset the utility difference of because to get good air quality, it's going to cost money. I mean, basically the more outside air you can put into a building, and Justin, you can chime in whenever you want. This is up your alley, which HVAC, but the more air you pull in from outside, well, that's just more air that you have to condition. So in the middle of summer, when you're pulling in 15% 100-degree air, well, you got to pay to acclimate that air. So they're going to try to look for ways to improve our air quality and also maybe improve our electric bill to help pay for that. So I don't know what that report's going to look like. I'm just assuming that's what it is. I wanted you guys to know. I don't know if they're going to want to present that or want me to present that in the next couple months, but we will have some more information on that.
Just out of curiosity, Wes, have you changed the filter, the MERV rating? Have you guys gone up on those?
We have not.
You have not? That causes problems in and of itself as well. But I know there's several places that have been going up in MERV rating just to capture some of the stuff.
Yes. I'd have to look. I think we're at a MERV 8 right now.
I think 13 is where you're supposed to be with for a lot of this stuff.
Yes. So how I've offset some of that, some of the areas that I know are bad, I've actually bought some air scrubbers, and we were able to get those through COVID money and put those in those. There's one in the high school nurse's office, and all it does is it basically just circulates the same air within the room through a HEPA filter to get those particles out of the air. So we've been able to get those. But there again, that's filters that, once you do that, that's a cost forever if you keep those in place. Just like with going up in the MERV on all the HVAC, if we do that, well, I never will be able to stop because, oh yeah, COVID's gone now. I can just go back to the old rate. Once you're in there, you're kind of there. So yeah, I'm waiting to see what these air quality guys say to know the direction that we should go. I don't know if you guys want me to talk about anything from Eric's report. I wrote a couple notes like the seating. Did I cover all of that? Any questions on that we didn't get to? Okay. The last one is roof update. I hate to say it, I'm waiting on construction to be done in the locker rooms. I was supposed to have that roof fixed by November 1st, but they still haven't finished their punch list in the locker rooms yet. So they need to get that done to turn it over to us. So then I can do the repairs that the school needs to do. So then we can use the locker rooms. So I am on hold on that, but I am pushing, and that's where I'm at on the roof, phase 2 of the roof. So.
Did you just say that phase 2 is not done yet? You haven't even started it?
The phase 2, I was supposed to have phase 2 done November 1st, and that's just over the locker rooms. It will only take a couple of days. And I haven't looked, that is phase 2, right? I'm pretty sure phase 2 is the roof over the locker room. Had to be completed before we could occupy. Well, we're not occupying anyway because it's not done with construction. But even so, as soon as locker rooms are done and turned over to us, that is the first thing I'm going to have to do. And it will be done as soon as it's turned over to us. Unless, I can go ahead and do it. The problem that I have with that, I'm going to have to tear down part of the ceiling tile and do all this stuff to get to it. Well, then, so I can take ownership of what's there now, but then I can't hold Branco's feet to the fire on anything they didn't do, or something breaks. They're gonna say, well, you did that when you did the roof. So that's kind of why I'm hesitant. And I know that's a small chance, but also we're not occupying. So phase 2 was, if you're going to occupy, you have to do this by November 1st. Well, we're not occupying anyway because it's still a construction zone.
But they're very close. They've done a lot of finishing touches this week.
Yes, they have been doing. I've been poking pretty hard. Any other questions? Shannon, you're yawning. Okay.
Nothing more for Wes. We'll move on. So the financial report, the big thing and difference on the revenues versus the expenditures is we're off about $6 million. Well, that $6 million is the amount of money for construction that is in the expenses for this school year as we're finishing up the construction. I do have a few highlights. We anticipated not getting very much transportation revenues from the state, but we have discovered we're getting a little more than what we thought. We're not getting rich, definitely, on transportation. We are seeing quite a bit more on that very last line on revenues with tuition from other LEAs, just more foster kid cases where we're seeing. And some other positives on, we did switch over, and I'm on the expenses right now, but on rentals equipment, 6334, we switched with copiers, and we are seeing that savings that we anticipated, quite a very good savings in switching how we have different copiers throughout our district. So we're happy about that. That was a good decision. And then we're noticing things that are going down, which we obviously didn't have in our original budget, but like travel expenses are going way down. We're not going anywhere. And so seeing stuff like that, it's all making sense. Of course, I don't know if Jim's still on here, but we are seeing the natural gas, things like that are going up. So thanks, Jim, for anytime we save money, Jim always finds a way to help us spend a little bit more. So, but you're doing good work, Jim. You helped us, you're giving us more money for Walmart. So I guess there it is. So that's the financial report. And as Jim said about his report, it's a lot of numbers. If you ever have any questions, come by, or you can call Susan or myself and ask about the details of the budget. So overall, our revenues and our expenditures are falling right in line where we thought we should be, even with all the COVID unpredictable things going on with COVID. So any questions on financial report? Moving on, the building level report. Mr. Webster.
Looking building level reports, kind of just starting at the top, I did want to highlight last month's Leading the Tiger Way October winners. Obviously, it's the certified staff at the high school, Barb Wilson, middle school, Matt Lewis, elementary, Hope Hunter. Classified is Stephanie Jackson. Middle school is Lisa Houston. At the elementary is Marsha Brinker. I do just think it's important to keep recognizing our staff that's going above and beyond at this time. So I think that's definitely something important to talk about. The next kind of part on the academic information that I put on there, one of the biggest questions, probably not just in St. James, but in speaking with a lot of other schools are what do grades look like in comparison to last year or previous years and years that before COVID. And the reality of it is, with so many virtual students, we keep hearing that kids are falling behind or they're not doing things while they're out on virtual. So I did want to take a look at that information myself, so you can see that posted there. Obviously, I did not put our elementary as their standard base grading, so it would look a little bit different. So I didn't want it to be confusing. So I only put the middle school and the high school. You can see there are more students in St. James schools that have failing grades at this time. We could say there's a direct correlation there with virtual students. Middle school and high school have been very aggressive in trying to take care of any of those issues and get those students back if they're just not logging in and doing anything. But obviously, this is an issue that is probably a little bit out of our hands, but it's something that could carry over. Talking with other school districts, this isn't a St. James issue. The kids that are outside of school and on virtual, it's a struggle. It's a struggle to get them to do stuff day in and day out. Looking through the elementary report, middle school, and high school report, if there's anything that you guys have any questions on, obviously I'll try and touch on it, or the principals can let us know about it.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Moving on, MSBA report. They highlighted the important work of school nurses throughout the state, and I can attest to that with our nursing team here at St. James. They have stepped up, rising to the occasion and just doing an outstanding job, great attitudes. They're doing things that none of us thought they would do, and then we're helping as well. They're meeting the social emotional needs of our students and even our staff during COVID-19. Still talking about the nurses. They are now, because we are a school that applied for the rapid COVID-19 tests, they are designated rapid test facilitators. And we have seen that started this week. I mean, this is a very brave thing that they're doing. And who would ever thought school districts would be doing these types of things? And our nurses are stepping up and just doing it. And they are our number one contact tracers in each of our buildings. And, you know, Becky Huffman, Stephanie Jackson, and Cheryl McCall are doing outstanding jobs, just spending a lot of extra time, not just during the school day. They are helping us after hours. The principals, I'd like to also commend all of our administrative team. They are helping with the contact tracing in all hours of the night. We've had principals and nurses working as late as 8:30, 9 o'clock at night with contact tracing. And even in last week, I know Dan and Tracy were working at 5:30 in the morning with contact tracing. So it's just so much going on. But going back to the nurses, they not only are doing all these new things, but they're still doing all the good things that they've always done, encouraging our staff and students to get their flu shots, which is really important too, because we don't want to have the twindemic that they are talking about. The flu is going to be just as bad, possibly, as COVID this winter. So they continue to do their regular jobs, and they're doing so much more. And if you see any of our nurses, you need to tell them thanks, because they are just awesome. They in the report also, they talked about board training during the first year of service, and it sounds like I think everybody's good to go. The refresher courses in training, and then the prevention of sexual abuse training as well. And I think everybody is good on our board. They also did highlight the advanced, master, and distinguished member certifications, and they talked a little bit about the governance award. And then talked about the next topic was school district emergency operations plan, which is sponsored by the Centers for Education Safety, and a thing called MOEOP, which is web-based application that will assist school staff responsible for emergency planning. So Josh Cahill is working on this information to help us update our emergency planning as our safety coordinator. And then they also, as they always do, reminding the board members and anyone else that's considering filing to be a board member. That begins December 15th, coming up real soon. It always comes up real fast before you know it, and closes on January 19th. And so that kind of leads to the next topic. Is we did have a really great board work session on Friday with Fired Up Consulting and Kevin Daniel. I don't think anyone just loves going over survey results. There's a lot of things in surveys. Sometimes we think numbers can be skewed, but I thought there was some good information for us as a leadership team to consider and to work on. And then at the same time, Kevin presented some things for the board and myself and Tim as the superintendents that we could work on together as a team and grow together. Of course, with COVID going on right now, I'm not going to recommend anything immediately, but when things slow down with COVID at some point, I would like to consider some possibilities for us. So thought it was really good, and we will keep that on the forefront. And the very last thing is, as we mentioned already, the board filing and the two people that are up for election, Tim Wilson and Justin Seibert. And so want to just make that announcement. And the way that we do this, anyone who files, a random drawing will be held for everyone that is here to file on the first day. Now, have we ever done that before? It since I've been here, I don't know if we've ever actually
Yeah,
done.
that's policy, and I'm not sure it might even be state law.
I don't know if we've ever had people show up at 8 o'clock in the morning to get in line, but that would be interesting if that does happen. So that is all for my report.
All right. Anyone have any questions for Dr. Johnson?
I just wanted to say good job to your staff. 79% on the completion rate for the survey. That's pretty awesome.
Yes, it is.
Okay. If there's nothing else, that concludes everything we had on the agenda for open session. We do have a couple of items concerning personnel and real estate on the closed agenda. So I'd like a motion to go to closed session.
Make a motion, Tim.
I have a motion.
I'll second it, Barb.
I have a second. And bear with me, I was not really prepared for this. I forgot. So those in favor, this has to be a roll call vote. So I'm going to go with Barb.
Yes,
Okay. Tim Wilson,
Yay.
or yay or nay or whatever.
Justin Seibert,
Yay.
Shalina Doss. You there, Shalina?
Yes, can you hear me?
You're voting yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Where am I at? Tina,
Yes.
who did I miss? I'm sorry. John,
Yay.
all members are yay. We'll go to closed session and wait just a moment for